समझ नहीं आ रहा अपने सैलरी इंक्रीमेंट का क्या करूं।
बेटा इतना क्या सोच रहा है, अपने म्यूचुअल फंड्स के एसआईपी का टॉपअप करा ले। दिस इज द राइट टाइम।
क्या समझ में नहीं आया।
बेटा इतना क्या सोच रहा है, अपने म्यूचुअल फंड्स का एसआईपी टॉपअप करा ले। दिस इज द राइट टाइम।
अब समझा।
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.
Where did the story of Atiq Ahmed begin? Now, the reason I find it so complicated and yet so fascinating, and the reason I am so invested in telling you this story is because it is crime and it is politics. Crime, politics. Now, politics and crime are the two things I've covered all my life as a reporter. Politics is something I still write about now. But the fact is that in the Hindi-heartland, criminalization of politics has been a very big story. But I would say to some extent, mainstream media has not covered it adequately, because even when I started researching Atiq Ahmed, I did not find so much said in the mainstream media, particularly English media. I found some stuff in Hindi media, but you had to go back to many primary sources. Now, think of a man. Atiq Ahmed was born in 1962. 1962 means in 1979, when he was in class 10, he was 17 years old in Prayagraj, in Allahabad. He flunked, he failed in his 10th exam, right? That is the maximum education he got. He failed in his 10th exam, he was 17, but at that age itself, he was still a teenager. By today's definition, he'll be juvenile. At that age itself, he was accused of a murder. That accusation of murder, the general belief that he had already killed somebody, or as they would say in the language of Uttar Pradesh's tough areas, tapkaued somebody, he became some kind of a local star, some kind of local hero to people, because this was also a locality that was already controlled by a mafia don. And that mafia don was a man called Chand Baba, popularly known as Chand Baba, but his real name was Shekhar Elahi. Now, Shekhar Elahi was the big guy. The 17-year-old rose as a challenger. This is 79. I will now leapfrog 25 years. Now be prepared, fasten seat belts, because we will leapfrog a little bit forwards and backwards in this episode of Cut the Clutter, because that is how the story is. So within 25 years of 1979, when at the age of 17, not yet 18, he got his notoriety for an alleged murder, and when he started building his own little mafia challenge to the reigning mafioso there, Chand Baba. Within 25 years, he became member of parliament from a constituency called Phulpur, not far from Allahabad. Now, Phulpur, does it ring a bell for you? Maybe if you are under 50, or maybe even under 60, it may not ring a bell for you, right? But if you're a little bit older, or if you've been reading Indian history or political history, contemporary political history, or if you've been at least reading, or if you read carefully the chapters of Jawaharlal Nehru in your textbooks, in your school, then you would have known that Phulpur was the constituency of the Gandhi family. So Jawaharlal Nehru himself got elected from Phulpur in 1952, 57, 62. 64, Nehru died. In the by-election, his sister, Vijay Lakshmi Pandit, who was then a governor, she resigned from her governorship and became an MP. She was MP representing Phulpur till 1968. In 1968, she resigned, obviously in opposition to the stuff that Indira Gandhi, her niece, was doing to the Congress party. In 1969, the leading socialist in the country, Janeshwar Mishra, then of Sanyukt Socialist Party, he won this election. Subsequently, this seat has been held by VP Singh, who also became Prime Minister of India. So two Prime Ministers have held this seat. And later this seat was also held by Kamala Bahuguna, the wife of Hemwati Nandan Bahuguna, who became Chief Minister of UP, a Central Cabinet Minister, who then left the Congress, went to the other side, and who Amitabh Bachchan defeated in the 1984 Allahabad election. That said, it is this famous constituency which has given India two prime ministers, 3 terms to Nehru, 1 term to Vijay Lakshmi Pandit, 1 term to VP Singh, 1 term to Hemwati Nandan Baguna's wife. That is the seat that the alleged mafioso of Allahabad or Prayagraj, Atiq Ahmed, won in 2004 on a Samajwadi Party ticket. So let's take a deep breath so we can start again. We can pick up the thread again. So that is the jump that Atiq Ahmed made from then to 2004, 25 years. It's not as if nothing else was happening meanwhile. In 1989, he contested his first election, and there was a context to his contesting his first election, because he'd been fighting to wrest that space from Chand Baba, the other mafioso in that same area of Allahabad West. Chand Baba, for his formal name, was Shauq Ilahi. Now, Shauq Ilahi was also had political ambitions, because if you're a Dada, what's the point of being a Dada who nobody can oppose or who nobody can question in an area other than having political ambitions? So Chand Baba or Shauq Ilahi had political ambitions. 6 to 7 years, meanwhile, Atiq Ahmed took, wresting a lot of space from Chand Ilahi. 1986, Atiq Ahmed was arrested. This is when Veer Bahadur Singh was the Congress Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh. So Veer Bahadur Singh went after him. He filed many cases against him. He was going to be finished at that point, but it looks like there was intervention in the Congress party at higher levels. So instructions came to Veer Bahadur Singh, and Veer Bahadur Singh, the Chief Minister, was asked to release Atiq Ahmed. That's what happened. Atiq Ahmed by this time had a lot of cases filed against him by Veer Bahadur Singh's government, and Atiq Ahmed panicked. He panicked, thinking that while his patrons in Delhi in the Congress party higher up may have got him out, but Veer Bahadur Singh didn't like him. The police was with him, and the police knew that he was a bad guy, or police thought he was a really bad guy, so he'll be killed in an encounter. So he apparently jumped bail deliberately so he would get arrested. So he got arrested, he went to jail, he had NSA, National Security Act, thrown against him. Then in the course of time, in a couple of years, he came out. He came out by the time the 89 elections were taking place, 1989 elections. Now see the context of 1989. By that time, Ram Janmabhoomi movement had already started and was growing quite fast. Muslims were very insecure in Uttar Pradesh. So he now decided to contest. Shauq Ilahi, alias Chand Baba, also known as Chand Baba, decided to contest from the same constituency where they were fighting for control, for mafia control, and that's where Atiq Ahmed also decided to contest as an independent. Atiq Ahmed swept that election. He got about 26,000 votes. It's an assembly seat, Allahabad West. Chand Baba or Shauq Ilahi got 9,000 votes. And you know what? Within days, and we don't know who did it, who done it, within days, Chand Baba was assassinated. Now, Atiq Ahmed was the master of all he could survey in Allahabad West. Following up, 1991, he won as an independent. 1993, he won as an independent. By this time, Samajwadi Party under Mulayam Singh Yadav obviously saw the talent in him, right? Also because they were after Muslim votes, so anybody would look like he could get some Muslim vote anywhere. In any case, this is when the criminalization of UP politics had begun to peak. So by 1996, Mulayam Singh Yadav had admitted Atiq Ahmed to Samajwadi Party. 96 assembly election in the same constituency, he won on Samajwadi Party ticket. Then by 2002, by 1999, he was out. He was doing other stuff, because remember, that was a time when UP had many assembly elections. So he had 5 assembly terms. 5 times he was elected MLA from the same constituency, Allahabad West, but those 5 elections took place in all of 13 years, between 1989 and 2002, because UP had a lot of political instability at that time. Governments fell, assemblies were dissolved, there were fresh elections, Article 356 could be used as it was after 92, etc., after Babri Masjid. So many elections were held. He won all 5. The 5th of his, he did not win on Samajwadi Party's ticket. First 3 independent, 4th Samajwadi Party, 5th on the ticket of a party called Apna Dal. Now, Apna Dal was a party that was set up by Sonelal Patel. Sonelal Patel was a Kurmi leader. In fact, his daughter, who inherited his mantle, and Apna Dal now, and also the control of Apna Dal or the main Apna Dal. There is also a breakaway faction called Kamere Wala Apna Dal, not that one. Apna Dal is now headed by Anupriya Patel, who's part of the NDA or a part of the BJP. That tells you something about the complexity of heartland politics. So 1999, he joined Apna Dal, Atiq Ahmed. 99 to 2003, he was the president of Apna Dal. What was the synergy there? So Allahabad West constituency, for example, if you look at the general demographics, electoral breakup, 30% Muslim, 15% Kurmi, that is the Apna Dal support base, and 15% of another OBC caste, that is the Pals. And that's how his rival became a man called Raju Pal, whose cousin, this other man, Umesh Pal, in the case of whose kidnapping, he's now been brought to Prayagraj for the court order, and who was assassinated allegedly by his men just a month back in Allahabad. So by 2003, 2004, he had figured that he was over with Apna Dal. Also the political climate and the mood was changing a little bit. It looked like Mulayam Singh Yadav was on the rise. So he went over to Mulayam Singh Yadav. In any case, by this time, Mulayam Singh Yadav's star had risen. He had become Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh. He had the power. Whoever is Chief Minister also has the police. So if you have trouble with the police, what do? You join the side of the Chief Minister, right? So the police will be on your side. So by 2004, he's come to, in 2003 in fact, he's come to Samajwadi Party. He's joined Mulayam Singh Yadav. 2004, Mulayam Singh Yadav fields him in Phulpur. That is the Nehru family constituency. So this also underlines and this also affirms Mulayam Singh Yadav's fatal attraction for criminals in politics. And that is something that damns his party even now. Akhilesh Yadav, whatever he may have tried to clean this up. And later say 2015, 16, 17, there were lots of fights between Mulayam Singh Yadav and Akhilesh Yadav over many of these characters, but specifically over Atiq Ahmed. And I will tell you a bit about that in a couple of minutes. But the fact is that he became MP from Phulpur, and that is something that people of Uttar Pradesh haven't forgotten, and that's how the identification of Samajwadi Party with criminal gangs has not gone away. Now he became an MP. To become an MP or to contest for Lok Sabha, he resigned his Vidhan Sabha seat. That was the Allahabad West seat. When he resigned, he fielded his brother from there. His brother is again an interesting guy who has two names. His formal name is Khalid Azim, but popularly he's known as Ashraf. He's also the co-accused in most of the cases, most of the serious cases where Atiq is allegedly involved, including the murder of Umesh Pal last month. Now, Ashraf or Khalid Azim was put up as his candidate in Allahabad West. And that is when another person from Allahabad West decided to contest. And his name was Raju Pal. So how dare you contest against the Don's brother? Raju Pal himself was no lightweight. Raju Pal himself had worked together with some of the gangs in the same area. In fact, there was an allegation or there was a charge. In fact, there was a formal charge, an accusation that he had carried out the assassination of Anis Pahalwan, a man called Anis Pahalwan, who was the father of another man called Farhan, who belonged to Atiq Ahmed's group. Right? Once again, these are complex connections, but that is how crime is. And right now we're mixing high crime with the highest politics. Now, a group of people came to assassinate Raju Pal because he had dared to challenge Ashraf. And Raju Pal had not only dared to challenge Ashraf, he also got elected. I know it will get confusing again and again, but Ashraf is an alias of Khalid Azim, the brother of Atiq Ahmed. But I will use the more popular name, which is Ashraf, as we go along. Now, you dare to contest against Ashraf and you won that election, you will be taught a lesson. So how was the lesson taught? Election took place on October 4. Raju Pal won by 4,000 votes. In November, there was an attempt on his life with firing, with multiple rounds of firing and bombings. Several crude bombs were thrown, but he survived. right? He survived when he must have thought he was lucky. Then in December, there was yet another attempt on his life, again with guns and bombs. He again survived. So he must have thought, I'm really lucky. But third time, he wasn't lucky. Third time came not several months later or several years later. Third time came within weeks of the second attempt. So he wins his election in October. First attempt is in November, second attempt is in December, third attempt is on 25th January 2005. And this attempt was successful. He was unlucky. So first of all, a lot of bullets, a whole bunch of bullets, and bullets were fired at him and bombs were thrown at him and people accompanying him. Then people accompanying him, while he had taken a lot of bullets, put him on the back of a tempo, and they were driving the tempo to a hospital when the assassins chased the tempo. They chased the tempo, caught up with it. Isn't it like the scene out of Gangs of Wasipur, Mirzapur, Onkara, anything you might have seen? They chased that tempo, stopped the tempo, and again poured bullets into the tempo. When he was taken to the hospital, he was dead. 19 bullets were found in his body. Now, if you think the story is over yet, no, it's not over. Just 9 days before he was assassinated, Raju Pal had got married. So just after he got elected, he decided to get married. So he got married to Pooja Pal. Pooja Pal now was widowed within 9 days of getting married. When the by-election took place, she contested the by-election on BSP ticket. She still had the mehndi on her palms. She'd hold up her palms and say, this is my bridal mehndi. I was widowed when I just got married, and she'd start crying. Despite of all that, such was the power of the Dons that she lost that election. She lost that election. Can you imagine? There was a time then in UP when a Don, the main Don, the big Don of Allahabad, was himself Manniya Sansad or Honorable Member of Parliament, and his brother was Manniya Vidhayak, Honorable Member of the State Assembly. That's how they ruled that place. And that was the peak of their power. Then that began to decline. Again, their star declined as Mulayam Singh Yadav's star declined. By 2007, UP was suffering so heavily, mainly with waves of crime, and a mood had built up that Samajwadi Party was so mixed up with criminal mafias. There were kidnappings for ransom, kidnappings for killings, kidnappings also for political ransom, that people got fed up, and it looked like Mulayam Singh Yadav will be defeated. 2007 is the election then that Mayawati won with the majority and came to power. Pooja Pal was her candidate and she won the Allahabad West by-election. Pooja Pal won in 2007. She defeated Ashraf, Atiq's brother. She also, among the candidates she defeated was also KP Maurya, who later became BJP's preeminent leader and Deputy Chief Minister also. Then this blood feud also continued in the electoral arena. 2012, Pooja Pal won again. This time again, Atiq Ahmed himself contested from jail, but Pooja Pal prevailed. 2017, finally BJP got this seat when Siddharth Singh, who later became minister, won it. And again, this is how the cluttered wheel of politics and crime turns in Uttar Pradesh. By 2022, Pooja Pal had joined Samajwadi Party, whose candidate and whose favorite Atiq Ahmed had allegedly got her husband assassinated. In fact, that trial is still going on. It's been 20 years. That trial is still going on. In fact, Umesh Pal was a witness in that trial. And it was in the course of that trial that it looked like that Umesh Pal had turned hostile. So prosecution had given him up. And yet again, in these complicated situations, Umesh Pal again must have got into some trouble with Atiq Ahmed after having done a favor to him by reneging on his own witness, on his own committed witness about over his cousin's murder, right? That there was an attempt to kidnap him in 2006. And you know what happened? While there was an attempt to kidnap him in 2006, he did not file a case then. Why did he not file a case then? Because Mulayam Singh Yadav was still in power. He filed a case in 2007. After Mulayam Singh Yadav had lost power, Mayawati had come in, and remember, his cousin's widow, that is Pooja Pal, was in Mayawati's party. This is as complex as that. By 2022, however, this cluttered wheel of crime and politics in Uttar Pradesh had turned fully, and Pooja Pal now, after having been with BSP for such a long time, fighting the SP supported mafioso, that is Atiq Ahmed and his family, by this time she came and joined Samajwadi Party again. All right, Akhilesh Yadav had dumped Atiq Ahmed in 2017. Pooja Pal now joined Samajwadi Party 2022 from an assembly constituency called Chail in Kaushambi district, not far from Allahabad. She won a victory, defeated the combined BJP Apna Dal candidate. Again, you want to see how cluttered this is? At this point, Atiq Ahmed's wife, Shaista Parveen, who also has some cases against her, including the case for being a co-conspirator, alleged co-conspirator in the assassination of Umesh Pal last month. She, meanwhile, is a member of the BSP, right? So, husband was a don with Samajwadi Party. The wife is now a member of the BSP, right? The husband has been with Apna Dal and President. Apna Dal now is a constituent of NDA, the ruling NDA at the center, and the woman whose husband he allegedly had assassinated. Atiq Ahmed allegedly had assassinated when Atiq Ahmed was the leading light of the Samajwadi Party. That woman now is an MLA of Samajwadi Party. That is a little primer in Hindi-heartland politics and the mix of crime and politics there. Now back to Atiq. We told you 1999 to 2003, he was the Apna Dal president. Then he joined Samajwadi Party. He continued in Samajwadi Party till 2008 when he was expelled. Why was he expelled? He was expelled because he was wanted in multiple cases, including Raju Pal's assassination. He was at large. He was not found for a long time. Finally, Delhi police caught him in Pitampura. By 2009, in the next parliament elections, he contested again, this time not from Phulpur, this time from Pratapgarh, again not far away in the same part of UP in general. Then again he contested on the ticket of Apna Dal. In 2016, Mulayam Singh Yadav, in spite of all this, in spite of such a colorful past, in 2016, Mulayam Singh Yadav again brought him back in Samajwadi Party. Now that is something that his son did not like, and that is something that Akhilesh Yadav then opposed. He opposed, but he wasn't able to do very much. So he was given the ticket of Kanpur Kent. He was going to campaign there, and famously he took a procession of 500 vehicles there. So the big Don signaled his arrival, but it so happened that around the same time, some videos appeared. And these were the videos of Atiq Ahmed and some of his men. Again, you've seen these scenes in, say, Mirzapur or Wasipur, one of those things, or Onkara. Atiq Ahmed and his people were seen thrashing faculty members of a premier institute in Prayagraj, Sam Higginbotham University of Agriculture, Technology and Sciences, in short called SHUATS, SHUATS. As this came out and courts got into act, he was arrested. Courts then ordered the superintendent of police to arrest Atiq Ahmed. Akhilesh used that excuse to fire Atiq Ahmed finally from his party and hasn't taken him back since. In fact, by this time, the fight between, or the tussle between Mulayam Singh Yadav and Akhilesh Yadav had risen to its peak, because Mulayam wanted old loyalists back and Akhilesh was trying to fight the slur that his party was mixed up with criminal mafias. If you see this clinically and dispassionately, you can see that the peak that Atiq Ahmed attained was in 2004, when he became an MP from Phulpur. Since then, it's been a decline, and that decline got exacerbated, or it became steeper as Mayawati took power and Mulayam Singh lost power. And later, when the Akhilesh got power, Mulayam Singh tried his best to rehabilitate him. In fact, in 2014, he had taken him back in Samajwadi Party. He could not field him from anywhere very close by, but he had taken him to Shravasti, where he lost his election. But many of these elections, Atiq Ahmed was fighting from jail. In fact, 2012 assembly election, he decided to fight from jail, and he asked for bail to be able to allow to campaign against Pooja Pal. 10 judges of Allahabad High Court declined to hear that case. Now, judges can always recuse themselves. So 10 judges recused themselves. 11th judge who heard the case actually gave him bail. So he came out, he campaigned, but Pooja Pal still defeated him. So you can say that his star has been coming down since then, despite Mulayam Singh Yadav's best effort. And now it looks like in Yogi Adityanath's second term, his story may find some kind of a denouement at some point in Yogi Adityanath's first term. In fact, it was on December 26, 2018 that a man called Mohit Jaiswal, a businessman, he complained that he had been kidnapped from Lucknow and taken to Deoria jail, far in eastern UP, where Atiq Ahmed was jailed. And he was then thrashed by Atiq Ahmed, his people, and in that thrashing, some members of the jail staff also joined in. You've seen that in one of those crime serials or a movie like Onkara or Basipur, haven't you? That a gangster runs court in a jail, has his henchmen, calls somebody, makes a demand, the person says no, it thrash him, and the jail staff also joins in. So he came and made a complaint, after which the Supreme Court got involved and asked for him to move to another jail. So he moved to Bareilly. Bareilly said, we can't handle him, he's too dangerous and too difficult. He was moved to Naini jail in Allahabad, and finally he was moved to Sabarmati jail in Ahmedabad. From there, he is now being brought. At this point, it's possible, we don't know, it's possible that as alleged, his people, he had the wherewithal from jail to get Umesh Pal assassinated. I'm using alleged. But at the same time, it does look like his time is really up. At least his time as a great mafia don and a politician is now really up. And you can hear this, you can see it in his eyes as he's been taken out of the jail in Sabarmati. And listen to his words. If you see that footage, he says, "Mujhko inka program malum hai. I know what they are up to. I know what they are planning. Hatya karna chahte hain. They want to murder me. कोर्ट के कंधे पर रख के मारना चाहते हैं. That they want to fire the rifle at me, fire the gun at me from the shoulder of the courts." You can see fear in his eyes. So here is somebody who struck fear in the eyes of so many through these decades. Looks like his time probably has come, whatever the verdict in this kidnapping case.